So Johnie Talks. Let's talk about cancel culture. What cancel culture is basically political correctness on steroids. So cancel culture is where a person says something, does something wrong, and then cancel culture steps in. It started on Twitter. Cancel culture steps in and rips away their livelihood, basically. So, for example, Michael Richards, who played Kramer on Seinfeld. He was before cancel culture, but cancel culture got him. Or he was before the term cancel culture, but cancel culture got him. He was on stage. He was being heckled by a member of the audience. This person, I believe, was black. And he says, what if I didn't see it, but I think it's something of the lines of, basically he said the N-word over and over and over again. He's white, for those who don't know who Michael Richards is. And that was the end of his career. Nobody will hire him for anything. Jerry Seinfeld has a show called Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. He had Michael Richards on there. He is the only person that will fool with Michael Richards, because he believes in Michael Richards' heart is not a hateful person. He was upset and he just flew off at the handle. My problem, but that's a whole nother conversation. My problem with that is the N-word has to lie in you for you to just throw it out there. But that's a whole different thing. But cancel culture got him, and it basically took away his career. Chrisette Michele is a singer. She is a wonderful singer, one of my favorites, actually. She went and sung at the inauguration. She is a black woman. And Donald Trump, at that time, is painted as a racist, as a person who is dividing us. So you ain't got no business going down there. They did the same thing to Jennifer Holliday. Jennifer Holliday has sung for every president. She sung for Bush, Reagan, Obama. She sings for all of them. So she figured, let me go sing for Trump too. I mean, I've done it for everybody. I did it for Reagan. And they piled on Jennifer Holliday like nobody's business. Because her biggest supporters are the gay community. And so they figured, you're turning your back on us if you go down there and sing a song with Mike Pence and Donald Trump. So she reversed her decision. She was in tears in reversing her decision. She went on The View and talked about it as well. So cancel culture almost went for her too. But it got Chrisette Michele, because Chrisette Michele went through with it. She went to the inauguration. Now this is her explanation behind it, and I totally believe her, because that's the kind of person she is. She said she went to be a bridge between Donald Trump and the rest of the world, because we needed more healing than we did bickering, fighting, and disagreements. So she went there to try to heal, and it backfired. Mind you, everybody told her, don't you take your black ass down there, period. She did it anyway. Cancel culture got her. You ain't seen or heard her. Now, mind you, she's doing a little better. She's got an album coming. She has a yoga studio, so she's kind of got out of the spotlight. But cancel culture got her too. Now, political correctness. This might not be popular, but I'm going to say it. Political correctness is necessary. Cancel culture is not. Yes, Michael Richards said something awful. But what cancel culture, and this came from Chrisette Michele, and this is where I got this from, and I'm going to expand upon what she said. She said it takes the wrong thing, because you took her livelihood away. You took Michael Richards' livelihood away. Like they lost their jobs because they did something wrong in the public eye. What I'm going to say is you take the wrong thing. Don't take their job. Take their ignorance. Educate them on what they did wrong, and if they still believe that they are right, okay, fine. Throw them to the wolves. If you want to cancel culture, go for it. But walk up to Michael Richards and give him the history on how this word affects people. Go up to Chrisette Michele and say that this man has no, this Donald Trump and Mike Pence they have no desire to heal with us. So you're basically sending out this healing energy at the brick wall. Don't take her job, take her ignorance. She thought she was doing something good, but she was trying to get us across to him instead of somewhere in the middle. And she overshot her dream, her focus there. So political correctness is what I want to know. Is political correctness in council culture necessary? Council culture basically gets rid of the people we no longer want in polite society because they refuse to conform. Political correctness. Here's why I say it's necessary. There are certain words you do not need to say to get a point across. And so political correctness is necessary. Yes, it kills conversation because people are now afraid to speak. I can't get very many white people to talk to me about race because they're afraid they'll say the wrong thing. And not just say the wrong thing, but I'm going to say something you're going to take the wrong way. And I don't want to be looked at as a bigot and a racist because I'm just trying to have a conversation. So political correctness kills conversation. Like questioning the Me Too movement. It's not politically correct to do so. Yes, you should believe the victim, but you should believe every accusation? No. So when I say I need to look further into this, don't get automatically offended like I don't believe you. So yes, political correctness kills conversation. But political correctness steps in where polite society forgot. For instance, you don't need to call women bitches and hoes. Black people as well, but every race of other people outside of black people do not need to use the N-word. You don't need to call black people colored. You don't need to wear blackface. You don't need to say various derogatory things about Spanish people. Or there is a word, I'm going to say it one time for the sake of this conversation. When I was growing up, the mom and pop stores in our community were owned by Asians. And what we would, not we, but what older people, and they still do, because I worked with a lady who almost said it because I knew what was coming out of her mouth because my father said it constantly. What they refer to the mom and pop stores, which is the technical, or not technical term, but which is the term that they use in polite society. In the impolite society, what they say is gook store, because that's a derogatory term towards Asians. And so they would say that. Polite society, political correctness steps in and says mom and pop. It says African American and not colored. It says women and not broads, bitches, and hoes. So there is a space for political correctness. The problem is political correctness is like a faucet. You turned it on, it did its work. Nobody turned it off. Now, you don't need to turn it off, but if things start to overflow, then you need to let some of the water out first. Like some of the things we have established, we can quit fighting over those. No, I'm not colored. No, I'm not a Negro. You can call me black. I'm fine with that. Or African American if that makes you more comfortable. But somebody didn't turn the faucet off. And it's overflowing. So now we have other races of people, primarily white, who are afraid to have racial conversations with black people because they don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to be misconstrued as a racist, or they don't want to always be told, you can't talk about that because your white privilege doesn't let you. You can't possibly know what it's like for a black person in America because you're white and you have white privilege. That is false. It's called empathy. I do know what it's like to be you. I don't know exactly what it's like to be you. But injustice is the same to you as it is to me. So if I see you get pulled over for no reason, I know what it's like to be picked on. All I need to do is times that by 10 and boom, I got you. So it's not impossible for somebody outside of your race to understand. So political correctness comes in and says we have to shut down this conversation because your white privilege doesn't allow you to see things from my point of view. And mind you, all we ever talk about is white and black. What about Asians and Latinos and Native Americans and Middle Easterns? And so there is an overflow of political correctness. I think it dampens everything, but like I said, it was necessary because there's just some things that polite society forgot to address. Political correctness did that. So if we were an advanced people a long time ago, we wouldn't be in this situation. But we have to give each other the room to get it wrong. Take away the ignorance. Do not take away my livelihood. So what do y'all think? Do you think political correctness was necessary but is being overdone? Do you think it was never necessary and we would have gotten here eventually? Let me know. Good night.